Australian man Alek Sigley has been released from North Korea. There were serious fears for the 29-year-old's safety after he disappeared early last week. Swedish diplomats negotiated his release from detention and he was thrown from North Korea to China. These pictures are from China and they appear to show Mr Sigley in good health. He spoke to the local media there as he passed through Bejing airport. Let's listen to that.
Excuse me.
Are you safe?
Can we get through, please? Can we get through?
Are you alright?
Are you detaining? Come here. Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm okay. Yeah, I'm good. I'm very good.
How do you feel?
Great.
So could you explain what happened in Pyongyang?
Just leave it for a moment. Yeah. That's right. Sorry.
It's Alek Sigley speaking there in Beijing, not giving much away but saying that he was okay, very good and great. His father, Gary, has spoken to reporters in Perth. He says that his son is safe and happy.
On behalf of Alek's family, we are extremely pleased that Alek now is safe and sound in Beijing. We have no more details other than that at this stage. I want to extend my thanks to everybody who's shown their support and concern for Alek and his family over the last week, and I want to in particular to extend special thanks to DFAT, who have been absolutely outstanding in their role in this whole thing, and also to the Prime Minister and to the Foreign Minister for their kind words of support and emphasis on Alek's situation. Alek now is in Beijing, and I'm sure that he'll be reunited with his wife very soon. And we hope to see him in the not too distant future as well, and give him a big hug and kiss, and we're very happy that he's safe and sound.
It's a very relieved father of Alek Sigley, Gary, speaking there in Perth, saying that Alek was in good spirits, safe and sound. Good to hear. The Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, confirmed the whereabouts of Alek Sigley and thanked world leaders who'd raised his disappearance during the recent G20 summit in Osaka in Japan.
I can inform the House that Alek Sigley is now safely in the Australian Embassy in Beijing. I understand his family, his father will soon be able to speak to him, and I can only imagine the relief and joy that his father must feel. His family have asked me to convey their thanks for all of those who have helped and expressed their support for them over the past several days. Again, I particularly also want to thank all those who have helped us in this very sensitive matter, and particularly all those leaders at the G20 who approached me and I was able to speak to, and their sincere offers of support to seek to resolve this situation. So once again, very pleased that Alek will be on his way home, but right now he's on Australian soil in Beijing.
It's the Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, speaking there in Federal Parliament. Let's bring in our North Asia correspondent, Jake Sturmer, who joins us now live from Tokyo. Jake, what do we know about what led up to this release of Alek Sigley?
Well, it was a lot of behind-the-scenes negotiating, a lot of diplomatic wrangling and back-channel connections, because the great difficulty with this is that Australia does not have an embassy in Pyongyang, so it doesn't have any way, or didn't have any way, to independently confirm or seek the kind of information that it needed to confirm the status, the whereabouts and the welfare of Alek Sigley. So it needed to be done through an intermediary. In that case, it was the Swedish government. The Australian government went through the Swedish government and the Swedish embassy, which has a position in North Korea, and in the last 24 hours the Swedish government sent a delegation to North Korea, and that has obviously led to the great result that we've seen this afternoon. As you just heard from the Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, he was just at the G20 in Osaka here in Japan. Was asked by a lot of world leaders about the welfare and about the status of Alek Sigley, and there he was able to get some advice from nations that have had citizens abducted or disappeared or detained in North Korea, and no doubt that would have helped inform some of the judgments that the Australian government and the Department of Foreign Affairs would have been making in this case as they investigated it, as they sought confirmation. It was quite interesting because the Prime Minister at all stages throughout the process expressed his concern for the welfare of Alek Sigley, but because the Department of Foreign Affairs hadn't received any information or received any kind of concrete information. It wasn't seeking to elevate discussions to a leader level. So you didn't hear Scott Morrison bringing it up publicly during the bilaterals. It definitely came up privately, but it was a case where the government was really just trying to seek as much information as it could before it made any kind of public comment about Mr. Sigley's situation.
Jake, tell us a bit more about Alek's involvement in North Korea. He'd been living there for quite some time.
Yeah, he described himself as the only Australian living in North Korea, and he has a very media profile, his Twitter, his Facebook, and he would write for a lot of blogs and a lot of websites as well, such as The Guardian and North Korean News. He also ran tours. He was a tour guide for Australians or tourists around the world who wanted to go to North Korea and get an insight into North Korea. All of his social media postings, though, were all very favourable and cast North Korea in a largely favourable light. So it was quite a surprise to hear that he had disappeared, that he had lost communications, and no doubt we'll find out more about what's happened in the days to come as he arrives back perhaps in Japan and then Australia. Will certainly be seeking to find out exactly what went on in North Korea during that week and a bit.
Yeah, no doubt. And Jake, just finally, what will happen now with Alek Sigley today and in the coming days as he's reunited with his family now?
So as the Prime Minister mentioned, we understand he is currently on Australian soil in the Australian Embassy in Beijing. Now, he has a wife, a Japanese wife, who lives here in Tokyo. We understand that, and we heard Alek's dad, Gary, mention that he wanted to see his wife as soon as possible, so we expect that he may be flying to Tokyo at some point in the next 24 hours where the pair can be reunited, and then at some point it's likely he will go back to Australia. But any plans beyond leaving the Australian Embassy in Beijing, I think, are yet to be decided, or certainly yet to be announced publicly. But obviously we are all very interested to find out more about the case of Alek Sigley, exactly what went on in North Korea, in Pyongyang. Was it a mistake? Was it detention? These are all the kind of questions that us as journalists, and certainly I think the public in general, are very interested to hear about.
Absolutely. All right, our North Asia correspondent Jake Sturmer will leave it there for Live from Tokyo. Thanks for the update.